Okay, so we're going to go ahead and try a limiting reagent problem now. So consider our balanced reaction. We have 4 moles KO2 plus 2 moles CO2 goes to 2 moles K2CO3 plus 3 moles of O2. Okay, so here's our scenario. Here's our given anyway. 25 grams KO2 reacts with 50 grams of CO2. How much O2 forms? So for a limiting reagent, we have 2 ways of doing this. We can just go ahead and do the stoichiometry for both of them, and smallest number wins, or I'll show you a trick. So let's go ahead and run it phase 1. So 1, assume KO2 is limiting. So let's do that. So we start with 25 grams KO2. 1 mole weighs how many grams? So we have 32 plus K weighs about 39. I'm rounding really bad, so don't do this. 71 grams. Okay, now the next thing we need is our mole ratio. We've got 3 moles of O2, I'm trying to find O2, divide by 4 moles KO2. And then the last thing I need to do is convert to grams. So I've got 32 grams O2 per 1 mole of O2. Now let's check my units. Grams cancel, moles of O2 cancel. I'm left with grams of O2. So I go ahead and calculate it. 25 divides 71 times 3 divide 4 times 32. Final answer equals 8.45 grams if KO2 limiting. Alright, so now let's go ahead and assume that CO2 is limiting. So 50 grams CO2, 1 mole of CO2 weighs 44 grams. Again, that's just the molecular weight. Okay, now mole ratio. We have 3 moles of O2 per 2 moles CO2. And then we have 32 grams O2 per 1 mole. So notice there's only 2 things that are really different. We assume that CO2 was limiting. Our mole ratio is slightly different because we're looking at CO2 this time, but our final step is the same because we want grams of oxygen. So okay, if we do that, we get 50 divide 44 times 3 divide 2 times 32 gives me 54.5 if CO2 limiting. Okay, by definition, limiting reagent is the one that's used up first, or the one that makes the smallest yield. So limiting reagent is the one that makes smallest yield. Okay, and this is no contest. KO2 is limiting because it only makes 8.45 grams. So the final answer is 8.45 grams. Now for those of you that don't want to go through all the steps, here is a little trick. It's what you have over what the reaction calls for. So we have 25 grams KO2. The reaction calls for 4 times 71 grams. That's 4 times the molecular weight. We do that. 25 divided by parentheses 4 times 71. I come out with 0.088 moles. Basically what I'm doing is repeating the first part, but I'm just showing you a trick. Okay, CO2, I've got 50 grams CO2. The reaction calls for 2 times 44. Okay, so 50 divided by 88 gives us 0.568 moles. Okay, get the same conclusion. KO2 is limiting. So, okay, recapping. We have 2 different ways to do it. We can just do the regular old stoichiometry and assume both are assume one at a time that they're limiting. So if I do that, KO2 gives me 8.45 grams. and CO2 gives me 54.5 grams. Got my G there. So okay, KO2 is limiting, and the final answer is 8.45. Now if I really don't want to go through that, I have my other trick. It's what you have over what the reaction calls for, and notice I'm converting it to moles. Okay, so that was a little extra help, and as always, if you need anything, feel free to contact me. Thank you for watching.